Driving to Tokyo, high-performance team taking you places you've never been before. It was quite a ride, but I'm now transitioning into a brand new experience here in Denver, but I still want to flash back because it was an extraordinary part of my life. In fact, it made up 12 years of my life, 1,000,000 miles. I drove 750,000 miles with night transportation. And I traveled all over the United States, including going to Japan 5 times every fall and every spring for 2 years. But right now, I'm in Denver, Colorado, sharing this with you. Let's officially jump in and start this video.
And no big deal. But you have to be willing to go through that awkward, uncomfortable stage. And most people, unfortunately, won't do that. And so they get locked in what we call their comfort zone. So what I want you to do is to realize that life is an experiment. You have lots of responses that are possible. And I'm going to teach you some of those new ones, perhaps, that you can apply to your success. So there's 3 kinds of responses. Number 1 is your behavior, what you do and say out loud. Number 2 is your thoughts. Number 3 is the images you hold in your head. Those are the only 3 things you have any control over in your life. What you say and do, the thoughts you think, and the imageries that you hold inside your head.
On December 25th, this was last Christmas, it's now February 16th, I woke up and I saw a message on Lisa Joy McDaniel's wall, and she's a friend. I haven't met yet, but a Facebook friend that I've been following her. She lived up in Mount Hood area outside of Portland. I drove by all the time when I was driving a truck off the 84 in the Columbia River. And her daughter said, it was a shock to me, that she was sad to let all of her friends know that Lisa Joy McDaniel had died, and that she basically had an aneurysm in her sleep on December 13th and was in a coma and didn't make it. And it hit me pretty hard, even though I didn't know her. I had been following her. She seemed like a really super nice person, and she was only 49, 20 years younger than I am. So it shows how fragile life is, and I had been reading her posts and following her now for quite a while. So life is so precious. Joy McDaniel, 49 years old. I'm not even sure if she knew that she was in a coma or that she had her brain or whatever aneurysm she had. She went to sleep like all of us do and just never woke up again. I've made my video collages. I have over 4,450 original videos and content talking about basically my life story. So I also like to share with you some people that I've met on my life journey that had made a significant difference in my life, and Jack Canfield is at the top of my list. I met Jack way back in my early 30s when he picked me out of a live audience when I attended one of his self-esteem intro seminars, and he asked me to work with him. And I said, what am I gonna do? And here's the funny thing. I saw a picture of Jack Canfield and my inner voice said I'd be working with him one day. Now, it's quite a story and how that even transpired, and it would take probably at least 10 minutes for me to tell you the whole story. But in short, Jack asked me to be his sound man for his self-esteem seminars when he was probably in his early 40s, launching self-esteem seminars. He had done facilitation with another group called Insight, and he was starting his own seminar company. So I want to give you a sample of Jack, and I'll move on to some of my other original content in this video collage video. But I think you'll get some value from Jack Canfield. So let me just jump in and share Jack Canfield with you right now.
We're going to look at this whole area of thoughts for a minute, and I'm going to ask somebody to come up here and volunteer to do a little exercise with me. It'll take about 1 minute. So, okay, great. What's your name?
Marianne.
Marianne. Very good. Come on up, Marianne. And I'd like you to turn around and face the group. Now, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Right-handed. Is your left arm okay? Any injuries going on here? Very good. So what I'm going to do is push down on your arm. I want you to push up, okay? So we'll see how strong you are. Very good. Now, you said your name was Marianne?
Yes.
So say, my name is Marianne out loud.
My name is Marianne.
And then resist. That's a very funny last name. But let's So my name is Marianne.
My name is Marianne.
And resist, good and strong. Now I want you to make up a name that's not yours. My name is Margaret. My name is Joe. Any name at all, and just say it, and then I'll test your arm.
My name is Kathy.
Say it one more time.
My name is Kathy.
And resist. What happened to your arm?
It went down.
Was it as strong?
No.
No. And my name is Marianne. Say that.
My name is Marianne.
And then say my name is Kathy.
My name is Kathy.
And without any effort, it goes down. Now, see, when you lie, this whole set of muscles goes weak. Okay. Literally, the whole Michael Jackson trial could have taken about 1 minute. All right. And we would have known one way or the other. But see, the reality here is that your thoughts affect your physiology. We just saw that. The brain wasn't designed to lie. It was designed to perceive truth and organize truth and express truth. Then things work. Otherwise, you're called psychotic or you're called a liar and gets in trouble and so forth. So let's look at one of the lies we tell ourselves. I'd like you to think of something you always wanted to do, Marianne, that you didn't think you could. Like, I can't sing, I can't bowl, I can't skydive, I can't start a business and run a family. You know, anything at all that feels true for you.
Okay. It would take me a minute.
That's okay.
I'm kind of confident. Okay.
You got one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you say it out loud?
I can't swim in the ocean out too far.
I can't swim in the ocean out too far. So say it again.
I can't swim in the ocean out too far.
And notice what happens to your arm. Now say, I can swim out in the ocean as far as I want.
I can swim out in the ocean as far as I want.
One more time.
I can swim out in the ocean as far as I
And
want.
resist. Notice what happens now. You're twice as strong. So what happens is when you say I can't, you actually weaken yourself. You weaken your resolve. You actually change your physiology, become less resourceful. You're less capable to actually do the thing you're saying I can't. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do 2 more quick things with me. Close your eyes and remember a failure experience in your life. You're not going to have to share it with anybody, just to yourself. But you set a goal and somehow it didn't work out. And when you can remember such a time, just nod your head.
Okay.
You got one? Okay, so I want you to visualize what you saw at the moment you knew it wasn't going to work. There's the pink slip, person slamming the door, whatever it is. And when you have that image, just imagine, just nod your head. Okay, and notice what happens to your arm. Now open your eyes. Did you eat any meals today?
Yes.
Name one thing you ate.
Chicken sandwich.
Chicken sandwich. Okay, good. You brought your agent with you? Okay. A friend.
Yes.
All right. So now close your eyes and remember a time when you had a success experience. You set a goal and you achieved it and you were really proud of yourself. You remember such a time? Mm-hmm. And vision what you saw then. Make a real clear picture in your head of what you saw when you knew it was a success.
Okay.
And resist. No, it's really good and strong. I want you to do one last thing with me, then we'll talk about what all this means. I want you all to look up at her, look at Marianne, and I want you to think a negative judgmental thought about her. Just make one up. I don't like you, you're an idiot, whatever. Okay? And give her that look parents give their kids when they're disappointed in them. And I want you to resist with all your strength. And notice what happens to your arm. Can't do it. Now smile at her and send a positive thought. Wow, she volunteered in front of all these people to go up there with Jack. And resist. Can you feel the difference?
Yes.
So what happens here is when you say I can't, when you lie, when you focus on your failures instead of your successes, and when you surround yourself with people who are judgmental rather than encouraging and empowering, it actually has a physical effect on you. So that's how powerful thoughts are. We see that our thoughts affect us and other people's thoughts affect us. So we have to be very careful where we place ourselves and who we hang out with and who we surround ourselves with. Give Marianne a hand for coming up here. Literally brought that book, the movie, and then later became a book, The Secret, into everybody's living room and into everybody's consciousness. That was a magical moment. It was a tipping point for sure.
You had many tipping points in your life. You're known for the Chicken Soup of the Soul and over, I think, 500 million copies in print all around the world. I mean, this is big success, and we're sitting here today in your beautiful mansion in Santa Barbara. And you wrote, The Power of Focus. I remember very much that book and the success principles. And I would love to hear your view on success.
Well, I think success, I used to believe it was being able to produce any result you want. In fact, Tony Robbins had this wonderful saying. He said, success is being able to do whatever you want with whomever you want, wherever you want, as much as you want. that was kind of funny. But for me, it was just being able to produce whatever result you wanted, whether it was financial or health or a house like I live in or whatever. But about 5 years ago, it shifted for me, and I don't know exactly why, but it turned into success is fulfilling your soul's purpose. So you could come here and live in an A-frame home in the middle of the woods in Massachusetts and write poetry. And if that's what you were meant to do and you did that, and maybe only 35 people ever read it, you would have fulfilled your purpose. And so it's doing that thing. And I think the way to understand what that is, I do 3 different techniques I help people understand their purpose with. One is I'll take them on a visualization. They go up a mountain, they go into a temple, and this angel comes down, the guardian angel, and gives them a gift. And that gift represents their life purpose. And I would say 80% of the people I do that with get a gift, and they're blown away by it. You know, my life purpose is to bring love to children, or my life purpose is to, create peace and harmony in the world, or my life purpose is to bring joy into the medical profession so it's not so scary for people. With the 20% who don't, I have them do a paper and pencil exercise where I say, what are the 2 qualities that you feel most describe you? So for me, it's love and joy. Be curious what yours are if you want to play this game in a minute. And then I said, what are the 2 ways you most love expressing those? And for me, it's inspiring people through stories and empowering people through the seminars I do where I teach them tools to become more successful.
Marina just came from Portugal. She's with the Millionaires League.
Lazy Millionaires League.
And they're just awesome. And I have Tian, who just came in from Australia. So I just wanted them to share a few words about being here at the event.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, take it away.
Yes. Hi, my name is Marina. I come from Portugal, and I don't speak English very well, but I'm going to do my best. I come from Portugal. I crossed the ocean to be here. I'm just jet lag. So I'm glad to be here. I like Doug very much. I meet Australians here. It's a global business. And then Portuguese. Vem ter conosco, serás bem-vindo. Adoro-te.
And muito obrigado.
Muito obrigada. My team, my name of my team is Lazy Millionaire Leagues. Woo!
And Sylvia.
Yeah, Sylvia Fortunato.
Roy, is it Roy? R-I-I?
Rui Gabriel.
Yeah.
I'm Sylvia Fortunato.
Doing very, very good.
Yes,
very good.
Our Lisa.
Yes.
Moving right along with the video short clip number, I don't know, 15 or something like that. This is me, and these are 2 dudes that were with Aaron and Sophia Rashkin. And dude, this is a lot of clips. I know, but this, people don't understand. Dude, my hour-long videos are just a bunch of these others, dude. Moving right along, this is actually at the Day in the Office. You probably wouldn't recognize me, but I'm right here. And every one of these people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people that are paid $1,000 a day to sit at this conference table. People flew in from all over. These guys were from Portugal. And I bring something to the table too. She was my guru, my coach, and now she's my van coach. She's the van.
Nomadic coach.
And she's totally awesome. She understands what I'm going through because I respect and love Sophia because I understand where she's come from and where she is today. And she herself went through huge transformation. And you could say that maybe on a logical level, you'd say, oh my God, but she went through it. And I was there with her. That's what now she's here for me, It's kind of funny how life works out, And we've known each other probably, 8 years. The time flies so.
I think it's longer than that. Like almost 10 years.
Almost
now,
10 years.
Since the Day in the Office.
Since the Day in the Office. We still talk about that.
No, this is the Day in the Office.
This is the Day in the Office. This is I've got my money's worth.
No mad life is the day. No mad life is the Day in the Office.
So anyway, this is me right here. You can probably tell that's me, younger version of me, because this is like 10 years ago. I've really aged in 10 years. I know, dude. But anyway, this is Aaron. This is Sophia. This was literally at the Day in the Office in their home right here in Denver, Colorado. Wow, dude, it was 12. This is wow, dude. This is like December 7th, 2022. So this is pretty much almost exactly 10 years ago, dude, because it's now 12/16/2022. In fact, they were with a team called the Lazy Millionaires. In fact, they were Aaron and Sophia Rashkin's, I think, top team, because this guy and his partner, I think they were earning around 30 or 40,000 or something like that a month, or somewhere in that neighborhood. So they contributed greatly to Aaron and Sophia making 70,000.
The most important. And if you work hard and if you play hard, the journey will be amazing, amazing, amazing. Try to do things with funny, with enjoy yourself, and be with your guys and with your group, and have really, really, really funny.
Humorous.
Fun. Well, play, you know, drink, eat, and yeah. And my vision was one day, I will be with my computer, and I choose a place, a Paradise Island or something like that, with internet connection. And I said to some friends of mine, well, you want to come? Okay, let's go. And be there for 1 month or 1 week, it doesn't matter, and play hard and work hard. This is really cool. This is my vision 20 years ago, and right now I'm living the dream, my friends. I'm living the dream. And if I live the dream, you can live the dream too.
Yes. So we're all one family.
All one family.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I love you.
Thank you. And this is Tien. Oh yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And this is my friend Tien again. We were just talking. So this is definitely very, very global. Australia, Portugal.
Kenworth T680. When I'm sitting in it, I have all my instruments, my cell phone, my truck GPS, my e-logs, and I'd often just sit in my truck. I had the bed in the back, the 8.5-foot ceilings, a refrigerator. It was very comfortable. I was perfectly fine in my truck, even on my long 10-hour break. My story, I will be doing some flashbacks that have to do with driving, because after all, the name of my channel is, or was, I'm going through a transition now, but was called Driving to Tokyo.
And one day I just walked into the other room and I said, so what do you do? And he said, well, I'm chanting that you're going to be very successful in your exams and that you're going to have a very successful life. And I said, well, will it help? And he said, yeah. And I said, great. So I got down on my knees and I began to chant. And that was my first encounter with the practice. And I then used my daimoku. I was going through this exam. I had a 15-hour oil painting exam. I remember painting a whalebone and a lemon, and I would look at this whalebone and lemon, and I had these oil paints out, and I'd be painting it, and I'd be like, at one point I would look at it and go, what am I doing? I'd nip to the toilet with my beads, sit and bash my beads and chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, come back to the
二六一周合唱白仏言生尊遺願摂氏が道東神流仏語陽前300位部言遺願摂氏が道東神流仏語に
that holds people back is them holding on to the past. And you start out in the introduction of Success Principles sharing that everything in the past has actually been perfect. Now, when you first hear that or read that, it sounds, I know to a lot of people, ridiculous because they're thinking about all the things that have gone wrong in their life. You say everything in your past has led you to this transformative moment in time. everyone including you, has always, I love this, Maya used to always say this, everyone including you has always done the best they could with what they knew at the time. Now you're about to know more. Celebrate your new awareness. It's about to set you free.
Yeah, I believe that everything you've ever done was you were doing the best you could with the awareness, skills, tools, and knowledge you had at the time to meet a basic need. You know, whether people cheated on their income taxes, or some kid joined a gang, or someone did something, you know, that we'd say is illegal, they were trying to meet some basic need for approval, for connection, for belonging. If they had better tools and awareness, they would have done better. You know, it's one of the big shames of our prison system is that we don't teach people what they need to know when they come out to be successful.
Yes.
We're punishing people rather than teaching them new awarenesses and new skills.
Yeah.
My belief is that the whole purpose of life is to gain mastery of our emotions, our finances, our relationships, our consciousness through meditation, things like that. And it's not about the stuff. All the stuff can be taken away. You know, people lose their fortunes, they lose their reputation, beautiful spouses die or leave you, but who you became in the process can never be taken away. Never. You are mastering through the process of overcoming these obstacles that you face.
Which specifically has two themes, driving and Tokyo.
That's you. And what I'll do in a seminar is I'll say, okay, close your eyes, you who don't see anything, right? I'll say, can you imagine your car at home? They go, oh yeah. Can you imagine sitting behind the wheel? Yeah. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to open up the glove box. I want you to imagine there's something in there you would never expect to find in your glove box. So go ahead and open it up and tell me what it is. They go, oh, it's a gun, or it's a doll, or it's an apple. And I'll say, can you see it? Not really. How do you know? I just know it's a gun. That's visualization. And there's about, 15 to 30% of people are what are called eidetic visualizers. They actually see it like a Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Technicolor, Super Scope, Dolby Sound movie. Most people don't, and they think they're not visualizing. But just thinking the thought and kind of picturing it in your mind. Now, what you can do to develop your visual capacity, because you can do this, you can train yourself. Like right now, we're sitting here in my living room and I'm looking at a lamp. I can close my eyes and try to imagine the lamp. Then I open my eyes and go, oh, I missed all the little dots going down the side. So I close my eyes, I put the dots back in. Then I open my eyes, oh, I missed a little rim around the bottom of the shade, and I put that back in. Open my eyes, oh, there's light on the left-hand side there coming in from the window. I put that in. So you're beginning to build the visual muscle. And the more you do that, the more powerful your visualizations become. So I think it's a valuable thing to learn how to do. Some people...
The parking garage. I don't know what the parking situation is going to be, but I've done this a gazillion times. I've had my parking since September, and I can go in and out anytime, 24 hours a share, if you're even here, you know. That I realize the aha and takeaway I have now is it's different for me making these videos because it's my life. I'm the creator. I'm the content creator. I'm the one that's putting together, and I get so much enjoyment taking 4,449 videos that I personally have shot and mixing them up and trying to make it into a story where it makes sense. Here's my belief, and I believe this because it's just reality. I think there's some people that you fall in love with or you love, and even though they don't talk to you, they're no longer in love with you. In fact, they no longer want you in their life. They've moved on, whatever. Life isn't always fair. Sometimes there's people you'll forever have, they'll have a special place in your life no matter how much time goes by. In my case, I was in relationship with Sylvia from July of 1998 to April of 1999. I made 2 trips to see her. I spent a month with her the first time, 3 weeks, and the second time. And that was years ago. And I've been open. You know, I'm as single as you can possibly be single, but now I'm as single as you can possibly be single. I'm 69, I'm no longer 45. I was 45 and she was 36 going to 37 when I fell in love with her. The thing about Moonlight, dude, is the sunsets. Sunsets over Moonlight Beach. In fact, the night you came to Moonlight, parked in the free parking lot at about 5 o'clock after driving from Arizona City, Arizona to Encinitas, California, which is about a 7-hour drive. You left about 10:30 in the morning. You arrived about about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there was an awesome
I
sunset.
made it to the Pacific. This is the Pacific. First time I've seen the Pacific in Japan, Yoshikako.
That was Chicago near Kamakura, one of my best friends in the whole wide world. That's Sari and Michelle. And this is back to Sylvia. And now she is probably 61 now. You know, so she's old, I'm old, but I think she looks better than I do. So if we got together, she probably wouldn't be attracted to me now. But the weird thing is, I feel like I'm a better person. My body's changed, but I've had more experiences than when I fell in love with her back as a cab driver. Sylvia and I, in December 1998, my very first flight to Sao Paulo, seeing her for the very first time after we met April of 1998, had over 2,000 pages of email, and we spent a whole month together. Then I returned again in April of 1999, 2 back-to-back trips, and then I would come back to the U.S. to the Columbine shooting, April 20th, 1999. It was happening as I walked through the door. This Sylvia thing, but we were just talking about coming back from, actually it's a big subject, dude. You know, you had gone to Porto Seguro from Sao Paulo, we're meant to vacation, you were on the beach near about April and Easter time, and Sylvia said that she just wanted to be friends. But one cool thing about Sylvia, she said she just wanted to be friends right off the bat when I had gone to Brazil for a month. But she said on this trip, the balance of our time together, we're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend, intimate. And I wish I had the videos. I don't have the videos anymore. She was completely, we were saying, I love you, darling. In fact, her, Sabine, Olivia, and Tomas, I think they said, Mom, what are you doing breaking up? You know, so that'll be forever a mystery. But let's go back to the here and now, because I was in Denver, Colorado. I came back to Denver, Colorado once in Brazil, April 20th, 1999. It's now February 18th, 2023. So that was like 24 years ago. Okay. Making it, you know, redoing it. See, I actually take videos and I just delete them. I make them and delete them. Because my 2 mantras are repetition's the mother of skill, and you got to be really bad to get good. And I don't usually like to talk, to be honest with you, in front of the camera like this. I like to do all my mixing because I have over 2,000 photos and videos that are part of my project that I've been working on called Driving to Tokyo, that recently shifted to the Encinitas van man. The Encinitas van. I'm almost to my loft. Now, this is a perfect example. It's 12:38. I've only worked 44 minutes, and I deadheaded back to my loft. I've done half my quota today. Here's the main point about my life now that I love. I love the fact I can stop and go anytime I want. And this is what I look like when my beard's grown out. I just shaved. I go back and forth. I look kind of like a cool dude, you know, I'm like the dude. You know, have my dude and the sub-dude, you know, this is like my dude. My friend Chicago, what she kind of looked like when I met her in the taxi cab, because this photo was actually taken, I know, on the couch of the Barrister Building. This has to be a long time ago, because I think Chicago, I believe she just turned 48, and I met her when she was about 25 or 26, and this is what she looked like when she got in my taxi, and I met her in Denver, Colorado, and she became one of my best friends for 5 years here in Denver. And ultimately, Chicago lived in my Arizona City house in my guest room as a friend for 2 years and met my mother and father. That was one of my dreams when I met Chicago in Denver, that someday she would meet my mother and father. And she did. My mom says all the time now, I understand why you talk so much about her. There's only one Cheeky. My mom calls Chicago Cheeky. I can take a day off anytime. I can take an hour off. I could call it a day right now, even though there's money to be made this afternoon and there's streak bonuses, and I'd fall short of my $50, $100 quota today. But it really goes back several years. This picture was taken about 1995, so this would be almost 30 years ago. This is when I was at Denver International Airport as a cab driver, specifically an owner-operator, meaning I bought this car from American Cab. It was a Fargo, North Dakota Highway Patrol car, and I had a website, I had an 800 number, and I had my own customers. In fact, one of my first customers that I love, that was my best customer, was a woman named Mary Laverde, and she thought so highly of some of you already know this, my friend Freddie and some of my friends, but it's worth repeating. She thought so highly of my cab service, and I brought her back and forth to the airport for 5 solid years. She wrote about a whole paragraph about me in her book, Stop Screaming at the Microwave, How to Connect Your Disconnected Life, oddly enough, on page 39. And she wrote about me, she mentioned me in a second book. During this time when I was driving a cab, another significant thing happened. I'll just wrap up with this. I met Sylvia online the spring of 1998 when I got my first clunky, heavy dial-up computer. I met Sylvia online.
Well, I think what most people don't know about me is I was born in a really lower middle class family, and born in Texas. My dad was in the Air Force, and so I lived in 5 states by the time I was 6, and have very little memory of it. But we settled in Wheeling, West Virginia, where I grew up primarily. And my father was somewhat abusive, and so my mother divorced him. And I got a stepfather who really raised me from the time I was about 6 until graduate high school. And I was a typical middle class, by then, suburban kid in West Virginia, except for the fact that my mother was an alcoholic and my father was a workaholic and sometimes drank as well. So it created a lot of compassion and empathy for me, because I'm very what's called hypervigilant. I notice every little thing because I had to survive in those families. And also, I think I have a huge sensitivity to pain, and that was really how I got started. The Chicken Soup for the Soul books, which really catapulted my career, those came about when one of my students, some lecture I was giving, said, "You know that story about the puppy you just told?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Is that in the book anywhere?" I said, "No." And she said, "Well, it needs to be." I said, "Why is that?" She said, "My daughter needs to read that story." Well, just tell her the story. I can't remember. I need to see it in the book. When you're a kid, you have an impulse to act, you act. You want to touch the cat, you want to throw the cat out the window. You want to stick your hand into the VCR and put peanut butter in there, you do. The problem is, as we're growing up, we get conditioned by our parents and our caretakers and our siblings and our teachers and coaches and nuns and all these different people that come into our life. Don't do that. Stop. That's bad. You know, we get slapped and told we're not okay. And so after a while, when we go to do something, we're looking, so is it okay if I do this, you know? Instead of just doing it. All my sons and my stepson and my stepdaughter have been great risk takers. They're all artists. One's a drummer, one's a hip hop singer. One is he's in high school, but he's in a school play. He just had to leave the school play. He sings. And then my daughter's a singer, and my other son is very athletic. He's a surfer. He snowboards as well. And he's always inventing games and trying out new things, always on the edge, you know, always coming in with cuts and scrapes, which I love, because they're out there on the edge of their potential, exploring how they can keep pushing it. And it's not that they never get scared or they never feel rejected and have to go through things, but they seem to rebound very quickly. Every one of us knows what we want. We can feel it. I'll just tell people, if you could have anything you want, there were no limitations, what would you do? And everyone has an answer. Little kids, big adults. And that's their core essence. And if we all just fully do that which we're passionate about and understand the principles for how to bring that into being, then I believe the world will work perfectly. And that's why I do what I do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it's a pleasure to be here and to share these ideas with you and really help you take your life to the next level, which is what we all want to do, or we wouldn't come out to these kind of events. I'm going to start by sharing with you a number of very important critical ideas. And the first one is this one. There's a friend of mine, his name is Orrin Hudson, and he was the Alabama State chess champion. And he grew up in the ghettos of Birmingham and became a chess champion. Then he was the #1 Cadillac dealer and became a professional speaker. And I was talking to him, we were having lunch together down in New Orleans, and it was at a professional speakers convention, and we were talking about my new book, The Success Principles, was about to come out. And he said, to me, success is like knowing the combination to a lock. He said, if you know the combination to a lock, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, white or black, Hispanic or Asian, you're 55 or you're 16, your IQ is 150 or your IQ is 93. If you know the combination, the lock has to open. And the problem is most of us are going through life and we don't know the combination. We maybe have 3 of the 4 numbers we need, but we don't have them all. And so the idea is that what I've spent 30 years of my life doing was researching what is the combination to the lock, interviewing people at the top of their careers, whether they were athletes, politicians, people in business, etc., and saying, what is this combination? What is the system? And if you know a system always produces a predictable result. If you use my Aunt Betty's apple pie recipe, it always comes out really good if you do what it says, because it's a system that's proven. And so I want to share with you the basics of a system that works. No matter what you're starting out at, wherever you are, it will work for you. And you may remember oilman J. Paul Getty. He was at one time the richest guy in the United States. And he said there are 3 secrets to success. It's very simple. He said, you have to get up early, you have to work hard, and he said, find oil. It's that simple, okay? Now, obviously, it's not that simple. If it were, we'd all just go do that. And so I wrote this book called The Success Principles, and in it there are 64 principles of success. 64. Now, that's a lot. A lot of people go, that's like too much to learn. So what I've done for you today, we're going to cover about 8, 9 of those principles, the core essence, the necessary building blocks that if you do them, they'll take you to the next level. Now, the promise I always make people is threefold. If you do this work and you apply it to your life, and the key is apply it, not just listen to it, but put it into practice. Number 1, you can double your income. And number 2, you can double your time off. And you can create more balance in between your work life and your family life and have a lot more fun. And you can do that in 3 years or less. Now, how many people here, if you could double your income and double your time off in 3 years or less, would be interested in learning how to do that? Okay, good response. We're talking to the right crowd. So basically, how do we do that? And I first of all want to tell you that it is possible, because a lot of times people go, well, how do I know I can really trust you? Well, I've done it in my own life, and I've taught hundreds of thousands of people to do this around the world. Just a couple of quick little stories here. We work with a company called Remax of Indiana. It's a real estate company. And we taught them these principles. And in the first year, 65% of the people doubled their income. By the end of the second year, over 85% of the people had doubled their income. And the company had doubled its total revenues and went on. Many people tripled and quadrupled their income in 2 years or less, okay? In my own life, here's one of my students, Scott Schilling. He said, I took your training and I learned these principles. And literally, he said, I made 22% of my 365-day salary in just 2 days after working with you. Now, think about that. That's 1/5 of his yearly income in 2 years. 2 days, rather. Look at my own life. I have a Guinness Book of World Records. I had 7 books appearing on the New York Times bestseller list on the same day. Stephen King was the only guy that had 6 before that, and he had done that book, The Green Mile, and it came out in 6 chapters. No one's ever done that since. Here's a check written to me for $1,130,328.35. It's the first check our publisher had ever written for $1 million. He actually put a smiley face in his signature, if you can look real. He was so happy to have to write that kind of check. And that represented 3 months of book royalties for the first Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And that year, Mark and I both made $6 million. My co-author and I split a $12 million royalty on that. Now, I share that with you not to impress you about me, but to impress upon you if little Jack Canfield, who grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia, and who graduated from the half of the class that made the top half possible, can do this, then literally anybody can do it. It's not about brain power. It's about knowing the principles. Gravity always works. If I drop this, it always falls. It's never floated. Never had that happen in my life. And so if you know the principles, you can use them. Like we can make water flow downhill. All the drainage systems in your house take advantage of that. Gravity works. So what are the principles, again, that work for us? Now, Jim Rohn says you can't hire other people to do your push-ups for you. I love that quote. I can't hire, what's your name? I can't hire Robin to go to the gym and work out for me and have my muscles get more toned. I can't hire you to meditate for me and I'm going to get a higher consciousness. I can't hire you to do my planning for me at night so my day is more organized the next day. All the things I'm going to teach you are things that you have to do. There are things that no one else can do for you. There are things. You can delegate certain things in your life, but not your health care, not your meditation, not your exercise, not these principles and strategies that we're going to be learning here today. So the first principle, building on that, says you must take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. And what that means is you have to give up all blaming, all complaining, all excuse making, all looking out at the world and saying, well, if the world were different, then I would be better off. Right now, we're all upset about the Chinese and the Indians are using more oil, which is sending the oil prices up, and we wish that wasn't happening. Some of you may love the president we have, some of you may not. We go through all these things where we say, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for the war, if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for the economy, then my life would be working perfectly. But there's a little formula I learned that's very, very powerful, and it really is the basis of everything I teach. It says E plus R equals O. And what that stands for are the events in your life, you have a response to them, and that creates outcomes. And everything in your life that you experience, whether you love it or you complain about it, is an outcome of how you've responded to earlier events. For example, if I put $200 in front of you and you go out and party with it, a month later your net worth hasn't increased. But if I put that $200 in front of you, that's the event, your response is you invested, and then a year later, maybe it went up to $250. So now your net worth went up. Same event, different responses. What's your name? Valerie. Let's say I say to Valerie, of all the people I've ever met, Valerie, you have to be the biggest idiot I've ever met in my life. Now, how many people think that would raise her self-esteem? No hands go. How many people think that make her self-esteem go down a little bit? Yeah. See, everyone that just raised your hand was not listening to the lecture called E plus R equals O. It's not what Jack says to Valerie. It's what Valerie says to Valerie when Jack stops talking. She might have said, oh, my God, the man's only known me a few minutes. How'd he figure it out so fast? Right? Her self-esteem would go down. Or she might say, Canfield's only known me for a few minutes. He can't really know what I'm like. I'm sitting in the front row. People that sit in the front row are really willing to participate. I've got a good ego structure. He sees me smiling at my jokes. Besides, I'm one of the more attractive women in the room. Probably can't keep his eyes off me anyway. Now, if he said that, which way would her self-esteem go? It would go up, see? So if she says that. So basically, it's not what people say to you. It's not what they do to you. The world's just out there worlding. It's not personal. And if you want a different outcome, because E plus R equals O is like 2 plus 2 equals 4, and if you're not happy with 4, you've got to change your response. The word responsibility means you have the ability to change your response to something other than what you're currently doing. And if you would do that, you would get a different outcome. Does that make sense? Yeah. So basically, we are responsible to change our behavior until we get the outcomes we want. And that's kind of an experiment. You never know if something's going to work or not. Maybe you're distant from your spouse and you try a new communication technique you learn in a workshop and it works. You go, ah, great. Or maybe you try and it doesn't work. Well, there's just about 500 more you could try. You know, you could read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, Children Are From Hell, one of those books. And just kidding. But, you know, there's so much out there, so many good techniques. And unfortunately, most people don't experiment with trying on new ones. Life should be approached as a huge experiment. And you just keep experimenting until you get it right, okay? All right, we talked about that. So we'll go to this. E plus R equals O again. I want to give you a business example. A friend of mine during the first Gulf War was a Lexus dealer, and people stopped coming in to buy Lexuses. They were all watching CNN and CNBC and watching the war on TV. And plus, we were having a minor recession, so people were holding on to their discretionary income. So what happens was, he said to his staff, E plus R equals O. There's a war. People are watching TV. Our responses, we've been doing the same thing. Ads on the radio, ads in the newspaper, waiting for people to come in. Well, they're not coming in. We better do something different. We're not going to go out of business, but we're going to take a huge economic hit if we don't. So they tried 4 things, one of which worked. I'll tell you what that was. They said, if the people aren't coming to us, let's take cars to where they are. Okay? So they would go out with 5 or 6 Lexuses, and they'd go to a party. What's your name, sir? Tom. They goes up and say, Tom, what do you do for a living? You're an investment banker. How's the investment banking business doing these days? Doing great. What's he eventually going to ask me? What do I do? And I'm going to say I'm a Lexus dealer. And then I would say, have you ever driven a Lexus?
Yes.
Yes. Did you like it?
Loved it.
Loved it. You know, we have a new LS400 outside, never been ridden by anyone. It's got the new Nakamichi sound system, quadraphonic sound. It's got the tilt back mirrors. It's got the new seats that have the air that comes out that can keep you warm or keep you hot, depending on what you need. Would you like to take a little spin with me, see what it's like? Great. So we go and we take a little spin in the Lexus. Now you come back in. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever test driven a new luxury car and then got back in your old car? You know that feeling? You were really satisfied until then. Well, they ended up selling over 60% of the people they did that with a new car within 2 weeks. Because they didn't wait. They tried something different. And if you keep experimenting like that, you'll find the R that works, but you have to be willing to take a risk. And the reason most of us don't do that is we don't want to feel uncomfortable, because all new things require discomfort. I'd like you all to do this with me real quick. Fold your hands like this, and you can do this watching at home, in your hotel room, wherever you might be if you're watching this on a TV set. And notice which thumb is on top, your right or your left. And whatever that is, I'm going to ask you to unfold all your fingers and have the other thumb show up on top. Okay? Don't just move the thumb, but all the fingers are moving. Now, how does that feel? Uncomfortable, awkward, strange, yucky, wrong, not me, right? Now, what does your body want to do?
Go back.
Wants to go back, so let it go back. How's that feel? Most of you said better. Tom over here went, oh, like, I'm me again, right? What happens is, literally in life, this is what stops most people from being successful. One of the things is that they would rather be comfortable than do what's required. Anytime you do something different, it's uncomfortable by its very nature. Now, most of you remember learning to drive a car. You were probably awkward. You know, you forgot.
You guys have been speaking to me through my video. I want to reframe this with my wonderful soul sister, Sophia, reminded me, okay, let's be truthful. I love my job. I loved every minute of it up till the last 24 hours. I loved being on. I got paid. It was an endless road trip. I made good money. I saved $37,000. I went to Japan. It was very, very positive, but I was supposed to. It served its purpose, and now I'm going on to another new chapter.
Right, and now you still have some money to go on to the next chapter. So your job served you very well.
My job served me, paid this car cash.
Right.
It supported me. So I'm sorry. The universe that set up the job, I want to tell you, I have gratitude. I'm not going to complain about what I had.
Well, and that's the only way you could have learned to appreciate this,
Yeah.
because of that life. You had a wonderful life doing that, and you know a lot of places to go, and you traveled the country.
I traveled a million miles.
You traveled the country, so you have a lot of experience, you know.
And I got paid for it. They paid for all expenses and everything, and
you got a per diem,
all the benefits, and I got to go to Japan 5 times.
Yeah, and save a lot of money so that you could have this part of your life now.
Yeah, so I'm going to cancel, sweep it away, any negativity, like, wow, that's really tied down.
You cannot let the last little itty-bitty part of how things transpire to define
the whole
your
experience.
Last 12 years of what you loved and enjoyed so much.
Thank you.
Do not let one person rob that experience from you.
Yeah, thank you.
You do not let you don't allow those people to rent space.
Thank you.
In your head. So
yeah, thank you very much.
Let me remind you how much you love it.
Thank you.
Loved it, and that was a critical part of your journey to get you here and where you are today.
Do you see why I love Sophia so much? Because she's like a...
Be grateful for that experience.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Up to the last 24 hours, I was loving it. And it's okay. It's okay. If without being released, I wouldn't be with her today, traveling and starting a whole nother chapter. So.
That's right. It is all about perspective. You can go down.
You can reframe it.
Look at, I'm just gonna go home and sit at home. I'm getting older anyway, and life sucks, and I just. Or you can get in your vehicle